Sarutobi was getting desperate. He was fighting Orochimaru, when suddenly he summoned the Shodai and Nidaime Hokages. He also tried to summon the Yondaime. But Sarutobi had been able to stop him. Needless to say, he was getting his ass kicked. Even with his personal summon, Enma, it wasn't enough. Looks like I have to use Minato's Shiki Fuin after all. He was about to make shadow clones so that he could stop all three of them. But there was an enormous bolt of lightning that hit the barrier Orochimaru's lackeys erected around them and pierced through. The bolt stayed for several seconds, as it formed into a person. When the bolt finally ceased, there stood a very tall, handsome young man. He had long black hair tied back in a ponytail and piercing black eyes. He wore a white battle kimono, and had a katana tucked in his obi. He also did not wear sandals, Sarutobi noted. He looked around for a moment, then turned towards the old Hokage. "Hey, Gigi. Where am I?" the young man asked. "You are in Konoha, young man. Who are you?" "Who is this, Sarutobi? Some last-ditch effort to beat me?" Orochimaru taunted, only for the young man to look towards him. Said young man then turned towards the snake Sannin, and scowled when he saw Orochimaru's blade. "So you're the one," the man said, then vanished. Not in a puff of smoke, not in a flash, he just vanished. Orochimaru was suddenly sent reeling back, dropping the Kusanagi. The resurrected Hokage's turned to attack, only to be sent flying towards their successor. Sarutobi's eyes widened. The young man was now standing where Orochimaru once was, with the Kusanagi in hand, looking down at said blade. "What the hell did you do?" the man said, scowling. "You corrupted the Kusanagi, turned it into this thing," the man said, voice full of disdain. "Who the hell are you?" Orochimaru shouted, standing back up. "I am Susanoo, Kami of Storms, you pathetic ninja," the man, now known as Susanoo, said, never dropping his scowl. Everyone's eyes widen at that proclamation. "You claim to be a god," Orochimaru says. "Not a claim, asshole. I am Susanoo," Susanoo says. "And you are guilty of several crimes." "And what crimes would those be, pray tell?" Orochimaru says while trying to summon Kusanagi to him, only to find that it isn't moving from Susanoo's grip. Susanoo, who notices this, smirks. "Surprised? The sword won't move, because it recognizes me as the one that cut it from the Yamata no Orochi?" "So you really are Susanoo?" Sarutobi says, getting a nod from the man. "Indeed I am. As for the crimes, Orochimaru, was it? I am not the one to ask." "And who would be?" Orochimaru said. "My ne-san, Amaterasu." As soon as he said her name, a blaze of fire appeared not 10 feet from him, and began to shrink down to the form of a human, much like with Susanoo and the lightning. The main difference, however, was that the fire was forming into the shape of a woman. A very attractive woman, Sarutobi noted. She had long black hair, with impassive red eyes, and wore a red and white kimono. She had a necklace that had 5 magatama beads, the one in the center being the largest. "Hello, Oto-Oto," the woman said. "Hey. I found the one who stole the Kusanagi, as well as the weapon itself. Here," he said, holding the handle towards her. "Hold on to it for now, Oto-Oto. I will need my hands for this," she says, cracking her knuckles as she walks towards Orochimaru. "I take it she's Amaterasu?" Sarutobi asks, receiving a nod from Susanoo. "Yup, that's my ne-san," he said. Amaterasu walked towards Orochimaru, disgust evident on her face. "You stole and corrupted the Kusanagi, a gift from my Oto-Oto, from me. You turned it into a monstrosity. For what purpose? Why?" she asked. "Power, of course. And immortality. I will become a god," Orochimaru proclaims. Amaterasu only sighs. "Typical. Another ninja who wants to be a god. That is not up to you. Even if you mastered your immortality jutsu, you would still be human. That one thing cannot be changed," Amaterasu states, getting an angry glare from Orochimaru. "Shut up," Orochimaru shouts, charging the goddess. She rolled her eyes, easily dodging the man. She performed a simple palm thrust to his chest, sending him a good 20 feet back. The two Hokages charged her as well, only to have the same happen to them. Amaterasu looked at the downed Hokages. You poor souls. Being brought back to this world through such a barbaric method. I think that Imouto would be better off dealing with you too. Tsukuyomi, she shouts, causing a beam of light to appear near her. It also began to form a human shape, though this one was much smaller. When it finished, a little girl was formed. Said girl also had long black hair and kind purple eyes. She wore a purple and white kimono, and had a smile upon her face. Hello, Ni-san, Ne-san. Tsukuyomi said, looking between her siblings. Hey, Imouto. Susanoo said, walking towards her. Tsukuyomi smiled even more upon seeing her brother, but frowned when she saw the kusanagi. Is that, she asked, gesturing towards the blade. Susanoo nodded. What happened to it, she asked. It was modified, corrupted, by that man over there. Susanoo replied, nodding his head towards Orochimaru, who was slowly picking himself up. Can you fix it? He asked. Not right away, not without the Yata mirror. I can restore it, but it will take time without the mirror. She replied, looking sad. Susanoo smiled. Good. So long as the sword can be fixed. It's not like we don't have time, he said, making her smile again. Thanks, Ni-san, she says. Tsukuyomi looks toward her sister and giggles at what she sees. Amaterasu was currently hitting Orochimaru repeatedly over the head. Should we stop her? Tsukuyomi asks. Nah. Let her get it out of her system. Besides, better him than me. Susanoo replies, rubbing his head. Susanoo looks towards the resurrected Hokages. Imouto, he says, getting Tsukuyomi's attention. Yes, Ni-san? Can you deal with them? I have a few questions for the old man over there. He says, gesturing towards Sarutobi. Hi, Ni-san. She says, walking towards them. The Hokages stood up, eyes locking on Tsukuyomi. Tobirama charged forward, while Hashirama began forming hand signs for a jutsu. Tsukuyomi merely lifted her right hand and a white energy shot towards Tobirama, sending him towards his brother. Hashirama dodged his brother, finishing his jutsu. Mokuton. Mokasatsu Shibari no Jutsu, he shouts, sanding several tendrils of wood towards her. She merely fires another blast of white energy, disrupting the attack and sending Hashirama crashing into his brother. Truly sad. To think a person would bring someone back to life in such a manner. I shall free your souls, don't you worry, she says, walking towards them. They tried to get up and attack again, but the same white energy held them down. She put her hands on their foreheads, the white energy coursing through their bodies. Their bodies then disintegrated. In place of the bodies, there were now only two souls, in the forms of the former Hokages. Thank you, they both said, before vanishing. Tsukuyomi smiled. She looked towards her brother. So, old man, you mind filling me in on a few things? Susanoo asked. I will do my best to answer any questions you may have, Sarutobi said, seeing as the current threats to the village were being dealt with. Well, for starters, who the hell is the guy my Ne-san is beating the shit out of right now? That man is known as Orochimaru. He was a former student of mine, until he left the village for being caught experimenting on human beings. And you didn't kill him for that? Susanoo asked, surprised. I couldn't. I saw him as if he were my son. I just couldn't do it. I see. Well, it looks like you won't have to worry about having to kill him yourself, as it seems my Ne-san is doing a good job of it, Susanoo said, looking over towards Amaterasu, who was still hitting Orochimaru repeatedly. And they say I have anger issues, he said. Tsukuyomi stood next to her brother. Are you sure we shouldn't stop her? Actually, I think we should. For now, anyway, he said, and the siblings began to move towards their angry sister. Susanoo quickly grabbed her by her arms and lifted her off of the ground. Tsukuyomi quickly restrained Orochimaru using that odd energy. Put me down, Otouto, Amaterasu shouted. Not until you calm down. We need him alive right now. You can kill him later, okay? She calmed down after that. And Susanoo put her down. As soon as he released her, the three of them felt an enormous rush of Yuki. What the? Susanoo said, looking towards the forest. That's odd. There haven't been any free Biju in years. Amaterasu states, also looking towards the forest. I'll go and check it out. Tsukuyomi states, before teleporting using that energy again. Now, then, Susanoo states, turning back towards Sarutobi, where were we? Tsukuyomi teleported to the area she felt the Yuki coming from. When she got there, she saw a giant blade sticking out of the ground. Upon moving closer, she saw two boys, one, with red hair, flat on his back, and the other, a blonde-haired boy, on his stomach. She heard the blonde boy telling the other something about not being alone, and love. She didn't quite catch exactly what he was saying, but she got the gist of it. She was surprised to sense small traces of Yuki coming from both of them. She moved closer to the two boys, and was shocked at what she felt. She sensed a large amount of Yuki hidden within the blonde. She moved closer to the boys, who only just now seemed to notice her. Who are you? The blonde asked. I am not here to harm either of you. I'm here to help you. She knelt down, directly in between the two boys, and the white energy seeped out of her, covering the boys. When the energy receded, the boys were healed of their wounds, but still exhausted. As soon as the energy receded, a black-haired boy landed near the blonde and two people. A boy wearing a full-body black suit with a red and yellow circle on the front, purple face paint, and a black hood, and a girl with a fan on her back and her hair done up into 4 pigtails, landed near the red-headed boy. Who are you? The black-haired boy said, taking a combat stance. She ignored him, however, and moved towards the redhead. She put her hand on his head. What's your name? She asked, looking down at the boy. Gaara. He responded. She smiled. My name is Tsukuyomi. Nice to meet you, Gaara. Her hand began to glow, and Gaara could feel Shukaku's presence in the back of his mind recede. After a few seconds, she removed her hand from his head. What did you? He asked. I perfected the seal, it won't bother you anymore. So, I can sleep? He asked, trying to process all that's happened. Yes. You're free to do whatever you want, she said, never once dropping her smile. Thank you, Tsukuyomi. Then, Gaara's siblings picked him up, the girl thanking her, and left. She turned towards the blonde. The black-haired boy was standing in front of him in a combat stance. There was also now a girl with pink hair laying near the blonde. I am no threat to you, nor your friend. Let me pass, and I can help them, Tsukuyomi said, stepping forward. Sasuke was torn. They were all tired, and he and Sakura were injured. How can you help us? I can remove that mark on you, for starters, she said, making his eyes widen. How do you know about that? He said. I know a great many things, Sasuke. I also know that the path you are currently on will only lead to your death. How will you restore your clan then? She questions, no longer smiling. Sasuke glared at her. Now is not the time for this. Let me help your friends. Sasuke slowly stepped to the side, allowing Tsukuyomi to pass. Tsukuyomi kneeled down between the two downed people and lightly laid her hands on their heads. The same white energy surrounded her hands and entered their heads. After a few moments, they both awakened. The pink-haired girl's eyes immediately locked onto Sasuke, and she moved towards him. The blonde moved his head to see Tsukuyomi looking over him. Still only partially conscious, he said the first thing on his mind. Beautiful, he said, then, waking up fully, immediately blushed and tried to stand. Tried and failed. Taking pity on the boy, she grabbed his head after he fell yet again and put it on her lap. Better? She asked, smiling at him. Naruto blushed. Yeah, I'm Naruto, he said, still blushing. He's cute, she thought. My name is Tsukuyomi. Tell me, are you a ninja of this village? She asked. Yup, he said, grinning, I'm even gonna be the next Hokage. I'm sure you will, she said. Naruto actually looked surprised. You actually believe me? He said, surprised. No one's ever really believed in me before. Now it was Tsukuyomi's turn to be surprised. No one? That's odd. Anyway, as fun as talking to you is, I think I better get back to my siblings. They should be done talking to the old man by now. Naruto sat up and turned around at that. Your siblings are talking to the old man? Can you take me to him? Sure, she said, standing up. Take my hand. Naruto grabbed her hand and turned towards his teammates. Hey guys, I'm gonna go talk to the old man. See you later. And the white energy swirled around the two of them, and they were gone. Where'd they go? Sasuke-kun, Sakura asked. My guess is to see the Hokage. We've got to report back to Kakashi. Let's go. And the two of them headed back to the village. Rooftop Tsukuyomi and Naruto arrived on the roof to see Susanoo and Amaterasu talking to Sarutobi about something. Naruto's eyes widened upon seeing Orochimaru, and would have attacked, if not for the fact that Orochimaru was restrained from moving by Tsukuyomi's energy, and Tsukuyomi still had a firm grip on his hand. Tsukuyomi led Naruto over to her siblings, who just noticed her. Hey, Imouto. Who's the kid? Susanoo asked, pointing at Naruto. This is Naruto. He's a ninja of this village, and one of the sources of the Yuki we felt a moment ago. Naruto looked at Tsukuyomi, shocked. Really? Susanoo said, kneeling down to look Naruto in the eye. His eyes narrowed for a moment, then relaxed. You've got the Kyuubi in you, Susanoo stated. How'd you? We can sense Yuki, Amaterasu answered. Besides, I think we should recognize the Yuki of one of the beasts that we created, Susanoo said, making Naruto's and Sarutobi's eyes widen. Why you created the Kyuubi? Sarutobi said in shock. Not just Kyuubi. We created all of the Biju, Amaterasu explained. Why? Sarutobi asked. To keep balance. The Biju were created to preserve natural order. Without them, the world would have deteriorated. Tsukuyomi explained. Sarutobi, still in shock, merely nodded. I see, what exactly is it you three want? Sarutobi asked, finally. Well, we want our stuff back, Susanoo said. What do you mean? Naruto asked. My Nissan's weapon, the Totsuka blade, and my treasure, the Yata mirror, are still missing. We were also looking for the Kusanagi, my Nissan's weapon, but we have it now. Tsukuyomi said, gesturing towards the blade, still in Susanoo's hands. So you've come to regain your possessions? Sarutobi stated. Not just to regain them. The ones who have stolen from us are to be killed, as stealing from a god is punished by death. Amaterasu said, now looking at Orochimaru. Said man was still incapacitated by Tsukuyomi's energy. So you're gonna kill Orochimaru? Naruto asked, looking at Tsukuyomi. Yes. More specifically, Nei-san will. You kill the one who stole from you. Tsukuyomi explained to Naruto. So what happens now? Sarutobi asked. We're gonna continue our search, after Nei-san kills Orochimaru. Amaterasu then began walking towards Orochimaru, who began squirming, trying to escape. No, I'm immortal. I cannot die, Orochimaru shouted, trying to escape. The energy held strong, though. Amaterasu merely shook her head, motioning towards Susanoo. He walked over to his sister. What's up? She gestured to the katana at his waist. He nodded and unsheathed the blade, handing it to her. Remember, it's a normal katana, he warned. She nodded, then continued to walk towards the trapped Sannin, who was still trying futilely to escape. Now standing over the snake Sannin, she raised the sword, and the blade began to glow orange. Energy pulsed through the blade, and Naruto and Sarutobi could feel the air around them heat up. The blade suddenly turned white, though you could see a very small amount of fire seep from the blade. Amaterasu stabbed Orochimaru through the heart, and the heat in the blade vanished. Suddenly, Orochimaru began to scream. The scent of burning flesh was pungent in the air, and, suddenly, Orochimaru's body burst into flames. After only a minute, the body had been completely incinerated. She turned around, facing the others, and saw mixed reaction. Susanoo was smirking, obviously happy with the death of Orochimaru. Tsukuyomi was smiling as always, still holding Naruto's hand. Speaking of Naruto, the blonde looked shocked at the display, as well as the smell. Sarutobi simply looked surprised at the display of power. "Now that's my Nei-chan," Susanoo commented, making her roll her eyes. "Impressive indeed, Nei-san," Tsukuyomi said. Amaterasu smiled. "Whoa," was all Naruto said. Sarutobi didn't say anything, instead staring at where Orochimaru once was. Amaterasu handed the katana back to Susanoo, who immediately began inspecting it. "Well, this is a first. You actually didn't break my katana," he comments, sheathing the blade. "In all the time we've been around, I've only broken one of your swords," she replied. "Like hell. You've broken at least 3, Susanoo replied, getting a glare from Amaterasu. "Anyway," Tsukuyomi interrupted, "now what? We have no leads as to where the Totsuka or the Yata mirror are. Where are we supposed to look?" "Dunno. Why can't Izanagi-sama help us with this?" Susanoo said. "Maybe because he's busy running our realm," Amaterasu answered. "It shouldn't be that hard," he replied. "Especially since you're not there right now," she comments. "Hey, Nei-san, we're getting off track," Tsukuyomi interrupted. "Can I help you look?" Naruto asked. Tsukuyomi smiled at him. "I'd like that, Naruto-kun." Susanoo smirked, while Amaterasu looked at her Imouto with a smile. "Well, you can't help us being that weak," Susanoo said, making Naruto glare at him. "Hey, I'm tough," Naruto said. "Maybe by ninja standards, Gaki, but not by Kami standards. So, in order to prevent you from getting yourself killed, I will turn you into a badass," Susanoo proclaimed. "Why you're gonna train me?" Naruto asked. "Well, duh." Amaterasu, meanwhile, had incinerated 3 of the Sound 4, leaving only a red-haired girl alive, though she had burns all over her body. She picked the girl up and carried her back to her siblings. "Who's that?" Susanoo asked. "Don't know. Didn't feel like killing her," she explained. "What are you gonna do with her?" he asked. "Find out information. She might have a clue as to where your treasures are. She worked for Orochimaru, who managed to steal the Kusanagi. She might know." Susanoo nodded. "Right. Well, there are things that need attending, so I'm afraid I must go," Sarutobi said. "We'll go with you. Odds are, people expect you to be dead," Amaterasu said, handing the girl to Susanoo, who slung her over his shoulder like a potato sack. "Yeah. Come on, Naruto," Tsukuyomi said, tugging Naruto's hand so that he'd follow her. Naruto nodded, and the 5 of them proceeded to the exam stadium. Chunin Exam Stadium. The 5 of them had only arrived moments ago. They looked down to the stadium floor, and saw a silver-haired man and a man wearing a green jumpsuit who had bowl-cut hair fighting 2 Auto Nens. "Kakashi-sensei! Gekamaya-sensei!" Naruto shouted. Susanoo turned to face Naruto. "You know those 2? He asked. "Yeah, the one with silver hair is my sensei. The other's his rival," Naruto exclaimed. Susanoo nodded and jumped down to the stadium floor. "Who are you?" the silver-haired man, now known as Kakashi, asked. "My name is Susanoo, and I'm on your side, for now," he said, drawing his sword and pointing it at the Auto Nen. "I don't really see the point in you resisting, seeing as your leader is dead," he states. "Liar!" one of the Nen shouted. "No, it's true. My Nei-san killed him with this very sword," Susanoo explained, shaking his sword slightly. "So either you give up, or I start severing body parts," he added darkly, glaring at the Nen. "Well, then. I see only one way out of this," a gray-haired Auto Nen stated. "Escape." He left the stadium, disappearing via Shunshin. Susanoo made short work of the other Nen, quickly dashing behind him, severing his head. He flicked the blood off of his blade and sheathed it, turning towards the 2 Konoha Nen. He gestured towards the others on the balcony, who quickly jumped down. "Kakashi-sensei," Naruto said, waving at his sensei. "Hey Naruto. I take it mission accomplished," he said, pulling his headband down to cover his Sharingan. Yup. I even beat Gaara, he replied. Really? That's amazing, Naruto, Kakashi said. He looked towards the others there, until he saw Sarutobi. Hokage-sama, who are these three? They defeated Orochimaru, Kakashi, and saved me, Sarutobi replied, making Kakashi and Guy's eyes widen. Are really? Yes. Now, report, Sarutobi said. The Auto Nin are retreating, but some are still attacking. The Anbu are dealing with them, but they are having a bit of trouble, Kakashi states. Susanoo stepped forward, after laying the girl on the ground near Naruto and Tsukuyomi. I'll help with that, Gigi. Susanoo disappeared in a bolt of lightning, shocking Kakashi and Guy. What of the academy students? They are under the Hokage mountain, as per standard procedure, Guy stated. Amaterasu, if it's not too much trouble, would you check on them? Sarutobi asked. Of course. It beats just standing here, she said, dissipating in a blast of fire. No sooner had she left, than Naruto's teammates arrived. Naruto, how'd you get here before us? Sakura shouted. Simple. Teleportation, Tsukuyomi replied. Anyway, I defeated Gaara, Sasuke said, smirking. That's bull, Teme, Naruto shouted, pointing a finger at Sasuke. I beat Gaara, and you know it. Prove it, Dobi. I can, actually, Naruto said, now calm. Do you have the Toad contract? Of course not, Dobi. Well, there you go. I summoned the boss Toad to fight Gaara. Ask him for confirmation, Naruto said. Tsukuyomi smiled at Naruto. That's kinda tough to do, seeing as he's not here, Sasuke said, smirking his usual smirk. Well, I could always summon him again, and you could ask him then. Sasuke's smirk faded. Enough. The two of you can argue later. The point is, Gaara has been defeated. Konoha is still under attack, Sarutobi said. Naruto nodded, and Sasuke nodded slowly. My Ni-san and Ne-san are more than capable enough to slaughter the lot of them. Sending backup would only slow them down, Tsukuyomi said. Then what do you propose we do? Sarutobi asked. Well, Ni-san is probably going nuts right now. An explosion was heard in the distance, followed by maniacal laughter, and Ne-san would sooner rip someone's head off before allowing any harm to come to the children, so I think the best course would be to stay out of their way. So long as we do that, I don't have any objections to anything you plan, she said, still holding Naruto's hand. All right, then, Kakashi, Guy, I want you to assist in repelling the Auto Nin. Sasuke, Sakura, go to the medics. Get yourselves treated. Tsukuyomi, Naruto, assist Guy and Kakashi, if you will. I will help Jiraiya dispose of the snakes. Sarutobi then left via Shunshin. Tsukuyomi teleported her and Naruto out of there. Kakashi and Guy also left via Shunshin, while Sasuke and Sakura had to run. Konoha while Susanoo had been chasing a group of Auto Nin that had scattered after he shot that enormous lightning bolt at them, killing half of them. He had chased them to the wall when 4 of them suddenly lost their heads. A team of Anbu jumped out of the shadows and slaughtered the rest of them. They were apparently being led by the Anbu with the Neko mask. Not bad, Susanoo commented, clapping at the attack. Who are you? The Neko masked Anbu asked. Ironic. A person wearing a mask asks me who I am. You give your name first, then I'll tell you mine, he stated. How do I know I can trust you? She questioned. Well, I was after those Auto Nin, so for now I guess I'm on your side. Very well. My name is Yugao Azuki, she said, removing her mask. Beautiful and deadly. You may call me Susanoo, he said, giving a mock bow. Like the god, one of the Anbu behind her asked. The one and only. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have ninja to kill, he said, disappearing in a bolt of lightning. Susanoo, Yugao muses, then quickly shakes her head and replaces her Anbu mask. Move out, she orders, and the squad disappears to continue their job. Hokage Mountain, secret cavern. Iruka was standing with the other teachers, watching the students.
He wished he could know what was happening up there. He was broken from his thoughts when a tornado of flames appeared not 10 feet from them. Preparing to defend the students, they were all shocked to see a beautiful woman step out of the torrent, before dispelling it. She looked around, taking in the situation. She turned to the teachers and began to walk towards them. Said teachers were still on guard.
"You are the teachers at the Ninja Academy, yes?" she asked. "Yes," Ruruka answered hesitantly, still unsure of whether or not to trust this woman. "Good, that means I'm in the right place. My name is Amaterasu, and I was asked by your Hokage to watch over the students with you," she said. Some of the teachers relaxed, but others were still suspicious. Ruruka was one of them.
"Do you have any sort of proof?" he asked. "Not really. You'll just have to trust me. I would sooner slit my throat than allow any harm to come to these children, though," she said, sitting down in a meditative position.
"All right, I'll trust you, for now," he said, going back to watching the students. Konoha Wall, 1 hour later. Susanoo pulled his katana out of the chest of the fallen Auto Nin, wiping the blood off before sheathing it. He turned to see the Anbu team that he had run into an hour ago. They had decided to follow him. He guessed to examine whether or not he was a threat. He walked towards them, seeing as all of the Auto Nen were either dead, or captive. None were able to escape, due largely in part to him frying a great deal of them with a well-placed lightning bolt. "Still don't trust me?" he questioned Yugao. "I can tell you're not a threat, at least not now," she said. "That's good. Now then, I wonder where Imouto and her little boyfriend are," he said, looking around. "Well, I guess I better find them. See you later, Neko-chan," he said, teleporting away, leaving a flustered Anbu alone with her team. Hokage Mountain, Cavern, Amaterasu stood up from her meditative position. "The invasion is over," she stated, making Ruruka look at her.
"How do you know that?" he asked. "Simple. My Ototo has stopped using his powers. The only reason for that is he's bored, or there's no one left to use them on. I'm betting more on the latter, as he never gets bored during a battle. I guess I'd better go look for Imouto and her little boyfriend. What was his name? Oh. Naruto," she said.
"You know Naruto?" Ruruka asked. "Yes, he's my Imouto's friend. How do you know him?" she asked. "I was his teacher when he was at the academy. He's like my little brother," he stated. "Interesting. Well, I guess that means we'll see more of each other, then," she said, before vanishing in a column of fire, not noticing the light blush on Ruruka's face. Rooftop Naruto and Tsukuyomi were sitting on a rooftop overlooking the village. They had contributed a great deal to repelling the invasion, defeating a great deal of Auto Nin. They were currently relaxing, seeing as the invasion was over. They turned around, hearing a crackling sound. They saw a lightning bolt come down behind them, and Susanoo emerged from it. "Looks like the invasion's over," he said. The two merely nodded. A column of fire appeared next to Susanoo, and Amaterasu was next to him. "There you two are. I take it the invasion's over?" she asked, getting nods from all three. "So what happens now?" Naruto asked. "For now, just relax. You've worked hard today, Gaki. We'll deal with everything later. For now, rest," Susanoo said, seeing how tired Naruto was. It wasn't much later that Naruto fell asleep, his head falling right in Tsukuyomi's lap. Said girl merely shifted his body so that he'd be more comfortable. Her siblings smiled at the sight. "This search is going to take a lot of time," Amaterasu said, looking at Susanoo. "Yeah, but at least it'll be interesting," Susanoo said, looking down at the two children. Amaterasu smiled. "Interesting, indeed," she agreed. Tsukuyomi looked down at Naruto's sleeping form. She smiled. "At least we'll have help."